Today we are going to discuss what care we should take care of on account of proposed amendment in the input tax credit. So everyone aware that in budget they have proposed amendment in section 16(2), so that to restrict the credit only to the extent of invoices furnished by the supplier in their outward supply and communicated to their recipient. So ITC is available only if as per they had introduced a new subclause AA, and two conditions are required to be satisfied. First, the invoice or debit note should be furnished by the supplier in their GST or their outward supply, and second condition is it should be communicated to the recipient. So what is the way of communication? We as of now we don't know, but if that amendment get implemented, or that amendment whatever proposed amendment get notified, then what before that what is the preparedness and what care should be taken, we are going to discuss today. But before discussing that point, just to discuss what is the path towards the ITC restriction. So everyone knows that the GST law was introduced with an objective of the seamless flow of the credit, but never there we are seeing only restrictions in the input tax credit. So whether the seamless flow of the input tax credit is itself is a question mark. So this is one of the amendment which is proposed once again to restrict the input tax credit, and to introduce such a condition which is quite impossible to satisfy in certain scenario, even after we take care of all the things. So earlier, to discuss the path of the restriction, if you see from the period of July 2017 to September 2019, ITC was available as per 2A. That is, there was no restriction, one can say. There was no restriction, and hence the ITC, whatever available in the books of accounts is available or was available to the recipient, this can be taken one of the view, as there was no any restriction. Second contention in this regard can be, as whatever amendment made is prospective. So in budget that can be notified on that can be implemented or get notified separately, and hence it is a prospective amendment and not retrospective. So for the retrospective period, section 36(4) is overriding the law, and this is now well contended position, and for the prior period at least we can avail and litigate the position that the ITC is available once you are having a tax invoice and you fulfill the other criteria for other conditions of section 16(2). Now, for the period of October to December 2019, they had issued an notification and restricted ITC to the extent of 20% of eligible ITC with respect to invoices which has not been uploaded by vendor. Afterwards, in the month of the January 20, that 20% is restricted, is reduced to 10%. Then in the month of February 20 to August 20, the ITC allowed as per books has made only to the extent of 10%. Only one relief is given, that is allowed to compute on the month of September, in the month of September cumulatively on account of COVID-19. So till from the period of February 20 to August 20, the relief was available that you can avail the credit as per the books of accounts. However, 10% criteria is get applicable for that period cumulatively in the month of the September. Now, from the September onwards to till now, the 10% restrictions is or 10% restriction is there for availment of the input tax credit. And whenever that proposed amendment which we had discussed get notified, then the ITC is available only when your recipient or your vendor upload their invoice and communicate to you in 2A or 2B. So what is the way forward? What care can be taken for so that you can ensure that your input tax credit is at least you can minimize the litigation. So as a firm, we will not say that we can 100% avoid the litigation with respect to ITC, because whenever authorities are going to audit the entity, then ITC is one of the point wherein they always think of to disallow the input tax credit, and always of that view only. So we can't avoid the litigation with respect to input tax credit, but at least by whatever we are going to discuss the steps, by at least by way of that steps, as an entity, you can ensure to minimize your litigation with respect to input tax credit. So what are the steps planned? So before discussing the step plan, first, everyone having a question whether to 2A or 2B. So whether I can use as a firm, I can use the 2A and 2B. So as a firm, in our view, 2A can be used for certain reason effectively, and 2B can be used for certain reason effectively. So before discussing the what is the effective way of utilization of the 2A and 2B, definitely today's video we are going to record on the basis of 2A and 2B, whichever is now applicable. I don't know whenever we don't know whenever the proposed amendment get implemented. Maybe there could be the change in the return also, because the way law is changing, the way returns are changing. Whenever we record the video on some of the days that get changed. So on the basis of today's scenario, we will discuss about how to utilize the 2A and 2B effectively, so that your input tax credit litigation will get minimized in future. So first of all, before proceeding that step plan, just discuss or just understand what is the difference between the 2A and 2B. So first difference is related to 2A is the real time. So 2A get updated real time, whereas 2B get updated monthly. So 2B is updated from the date of 12th of the previous month to the 11th of the month. So it's get updated monthly. Or second major difference, 2A update once you save the, or your supply, your vendor save the invoice. So even the invoice is saved on online portal, then 2A get updated. But 2B is updated only when he files the, or vendors files the return or submit the return. Then has both that's why 2A contain both saved as well as filed invoices, whereas 2B contain only the filed invoices. Second, there is no system aid as far as 2A is concerned for whether for saying that, or whether suggesting that, or determining the availability of the input tax credit. But in 2B, the system aid is available, or system helps to determine whether the credit is eligible, whether its vendor has filed the return, whether it's available or not. So 2B is advantageous for that. And last and but important, that whenever GSTR1 get filed, then 2B will update, 2A get update for the respective month for which month we had filed the GST. Whereas 2B of the month in which month GSTR1 is filed, that in that month it get updated, that invoice. That means just to discuss practically, if you are filing, let's say December 20 return in the February 2021, then if you file in February 2021, then 2B of the February 2021, so that invoices of December, whatever, get updated in the 2B of the, when you file the return, that means in the month of the February, that invoices get updated. But to 2A get updated in the month of the December, so for which that return pertains. So if its return is pertaining to December, even you filed in the February, to 2A of December month get updated. So this is the major difference, and on that basis you can use, or you can use 2A and 2B effectively. So let's start our today's topic related to what care you can take to avoid the future litigation with respect to input tax credit. So friends, first and foremost step is identify your vendor. So identify your vendor. Who is your vendor? Whether your vendor is issuing e-invoice, whether your vendor is filing the monthly return, or whether your vendor is filing the quarterly return. First, separate the vendor, whoever filing the quarterly return, and request them to file the monthly return. Because if they file the quarterly return, then 2B get update quarterly, and that will create the challenge in days to come. So request your vendor to file the return monthly. If your vendor not agrees to file the return monthly, then at least request your vendor to furnish, use invoice furnishing facility to upload your invoice on real-time basis, so that it will get reflected in the 2B. Whenever the vendor which are having an e-invoicing applicability, the e-invoice get reflected in the GSTR1, in their GSTR1 automatically, and from that GSTR1 in your GSTR2A and 2B automatically. So there is some minimum risk as far as other vendor is concerned. So just identify and bifurcate whatever vendor you are dealing with at present, and how much risk you are carrying. So this is the first and foremost step for as an organization is concerned. Then second step is follow up with your vendor. So how you should follow. So in our view, you should refer the 2A for following up your vendor. So in one, as we had earlier discussed, 2A get updated as and when invoice you upload on online portal. So whenever you receive the goods or services from your vendor, ask your vendor to upload that invoice on online portal and accept goods and services only when it will get reflected in your 2A or 2B. This can be one of the way. Definitely, this is the commercially may not be possible in certain scenario, but at least when ask your vendor to update, upload or save on online portal, so that it get reflected in 2A or on real-time basis, and on the basis of that you can ensure or then pay to the your vendor. And if it is not reflected or in PO or agreement itself, so whenever you are dealing with your vendor, at least communicate them that you upload your invoices on real-time basis, so that it get reflected in the 2A. And on real-time basis, and as an internal organization, you can check that whether the 2A is updated, and if not updated, then you can communicate weekly or bi-weekly with your vendor that you had not yet saved on online portal invoice shared by us. Because in future, if you don't track the invoice on real time or regular basis, then it's very much difficult at the year end to reconcile all data and to avail the input tax credit. Then you have to face the litigation. Now, third step plan is follow up with your. So in first step plan, identify your vendor. In second step plan, follow up your vendor or quarter on maybe weekly or bi-weekly basis on the basis of 2A. And then now third step is follow with your vendor on the basis of 2B. That means monthly. Follow up monthly, that vendor has saved the invoice but not filed the return. That can be, so reconcile your data with 2B and 3B. As a firm, we will recommend that at the time of GSTR 3B, avail the credit of the 2B itself, whatever available in the 2B, and so that reconciliation is quite easy. In such a cases, in some scenario, there could affect a working capital, because in 2B there may not be all invoices or all vendor may not have filed the return on the 11th. So working capital may get affected. But wherever possible, if your working capital is not getting affected, then it is recommended avail in 2B, so that to minimize the reconciliation to some extent. Then if it is not get reflected in the 2B on 11th itself, or whoever your consultant, ask that consultant to that whatever the 2B or whatever the invoice is not reflected in 2B, in that month itself, communicate with your vendor that here you have not filed the return, even it's reflected in the 2A, it's not getting reflected in the 2B, and start communication from that month itself, unless and until that invoice get or that return get filed. Then please keep in mind, if you as a firm, we are suggesting that avail in the on the basis of 2B, we also want to highlight one risk. If you are availing on the basis of 2B, then when invoice get filed, or when your vendor filed the GSTR1, then only in that month invoice get reflected. So let's say one of the scenario, if for the financial year 2021, your vendor filed the GSTR1 of February month after September 21. then what happened? It will get reflected after September 21. And if you had not reconciled your data, then you may not avail that credit. And after September 21, you can't avail the credit in other return. So from April to September, ensure that every of your vendor has filed the return. Then only the ITC is available. And even while reconcile, if you are not availing the 10% criteria, then at least cumulatively you can avail the credit in the September month and ensure that there should not be credit loss. Because after September, all credit will get lapsed if one vendor upload the invoices or file the return after September month. So if you are availing on the basis of 2B, keep this risk in mind and avail the input tax credit accordingly properly. Now, this is one of the third steps. So first step, identify your vendor. Second step is communicate on the basis of 2B, weekly or bi-weekly basis. On monthly basis, if he is not paid, communicate on the basis of 2B. Then fourth and important step is related to internal control. To have an internal control within the organization, organization should have a responsibility matrix. We as a firm also helping for that responsibility matrix. So within your organization should have an responsibility matrix that someone should track the vendor. Then whoever the vendor, let's say having a more risk, so you can bifurcate your vendor into the 80-20 criteria. So wherever there is an 80% risk, the follow-up should be the personally. Second, some of the apps can be used to track the whether vendor has cancelled their GSTR1. So nowadays, in many cases, it is observed that the vendors has cancelled the GSTN. eBay bill portal registration has also cancelled of there because of non-filing of the return, and they are not recovered that. So in such a scenario, it is better to track the vendor, at least the vendor who are not invoicing applicable. Such a vendor should be tracked on real-time basis, and that responsibility of matrix should have take place in the organization. So as a firm, we are helping to create that responsibility matrix or internal control, which will ensure that the vendor has, which will ensure the smooth flow of the input tax credit. Secondly, even with respect to input tax, so even after setting of responsibility matrix within the organization, there is a possibility to lapse the input tax credit. So AI-based software or customized software can be used whenever, if you are as an organization, you can afford the cost of the customization of the software. Even as a firm, we are customizing or providing the customized software, which can be customized as per your risk requirement, which will avail or which will differentiate your or which will give you the on real time or either weekly or bi-weekly or monthly difference between the GST return file or 2A or 2B and your books of accounts. They compare both. So such a software compare both the data, that is books of accounts and online portal data. They give the differences. They automatically send the mails to your vendor. So on the basis of that mail, some of the vendor file the return. If vendor not file the return, then on real time basis they communicate that these vendors are not filed, and you can call to that vendor for personally. So this software can also be customized as per your requirement. Definitely, if you afford that cost, then you can customize. We are also helping or for such a customization of the software. Now, second, and I think regarding payment, and every organization now preferring that the payment to the vendor only after getting input tax credit reflected. But in such a scenario, it's happened that the vendor asks for the payment for the GST payment, and supplier says that the recipient says that the once you upload or once you file the GSTR1, then only I will pay the amount. And vendor says that you will pay the amount and then I will file the GST return. So such a complication could arise. So cover whatever you want by way of the PO properly. And it is better to follow up with vendor and to check the creditability of the vendor on regular basis, so that to avoid the future litigation. So these are the certain SOP or one of the point is the SOP can be happen within organization, so that even for that SOP we are helping. So within such organization, you should ensure such a SOP that you should minimize your litigation in days to come on account of this provision. So these are the certain points or care you as an organization you can take care of the things, so that to avoid the minimum or to minimize your loss of the input tax credit or to lapse of the input tax credit. So even after following this all the steps, there are certain challenges with us. And what are the challenges, that also we are going to discuss. So even you are within organization, you prefer responsibility matrix, you are communicated vendor well, then also there are certain challenges. And what are the challenges? First challenges, whether 2A or 2B. What is the way of the communication? So if you say section 16(2) and subclause A, which is proposed to be inserted, that says that one of the condition is communication, it should be communicated. But what is the communication way, whether the 2A or 2B? And second, communication should be 2A, that is between the recipient as well as vendor. But here 2A and 2B, both communications are one way. So on the basis of GSTR 1, when GST law was introduced, there was a concept of 2-way communication. That means GSTR 1, GSTR 2A, 2B, or now 2B, but GSTR 2A. On the basis of 2A, in the 1A, the recipient can communicate the difference, was able to communicate the difference as far as GST law, earlier GST law was considered. Earlier GST law was considered. So when GST law was thought to be implemented, at that time, there were a GSTR 1, GSTR 2, GSTR 2A, 1-way, GSTR 1A, and GSTR 3. But that never ever introduced, and 2A and 2B were it's said to be one-way communication. So no, it's not. Communication always be 2-way. If they are using the word communication, then it can also be contended that the communication should not be one-way communication, or system allows only one-way communication from the GSTR 1 of your vendor to 2A. So this is one of the challenge. Second challenge related to Rule 36(4). This is not challenge, I think. This is a favorable, this can be used favorably for the previous period. So Rule 36(4) earlier amended to restrict the credit of 20%, and now it is 20%. It can be said that the amendment in law is prospective, and hence earlier whatever rule was amended is overriding the GST law. And this contention, I think, for strong or for previous period, we can litigate very well that the input tax credit is available once all other conditions as referred in the section 16(2) is satisfied. So sometimes there could be the scenario that GSTN has wrong. So your vendor has paid, but that paid the liability inadvertently under another GSTR 1. Another GSTN number. So this could happen, and after September they can't amend the GST invoice. So this could be some of the example wherein vendor has paid the liability, but that not communicated by way of or that not reflected in the 2A. So certain scenario can be litigated for the previous period very well. So this is one of the, I think, challenge. And one of the challenge, one of the things we will also like to highlight, that many of the taxpayers asking us a question that whether after implementation of this provision, whenever it gets notified, whether we can litigate the position of that the input tax credit is available as per the books of accounts. So definitely, in our view, that can be litigated, because third-party compliance, as a taxpayer, if I am complying, if I am ensuring that my vendor is creditable, if I am taking all care, whatever required and whatever available with me, then I can't ensure that the third party has complied with. So third party's responsibility, and it can't be doubly taxed because third party has not complied. When GST law has all the provision to punish the third party, why I should be punished? So this contention can be there, or many more contentions are there. But nowadays, whenever GST law get implemented, the system itself restricting that. So even though in our view that credit is available, we don't know whether system will allow that credit to avail. So if system will allow that credit to avail, then only that get electronic in the electronic credit ledger, and then only you can use that. So it's better that from now itself you should be taken care of all the things, and whatever discussed in today's sessions, you should have responsibility matrix, you should have SOP, start preparing for the amended provision. Whenever it get amended or it get notified, you should be prepared so that to minimize the loss of the input tax credit. So thank you, friend. You can connect us if you have to set an internal control system within the organization